guys, welcome to Wick Live, a very special Wick Live where we are going to be celebrating and talking about the finale, The Dragon and the Wolf. I am Kayla Canarum, here with our WinterIsComing.net editor-in-chief Dan Selke and our entertainment guru, Josh Hill, is joining us today as well, and we are excited to dive in.
We are, everybody. It's the Game of Thrones Season 7 finale. It seems like it's been a long time coming.
Dan's shirt's on the right side.
Thank you, Kayla.
He can
Right out
sleep
of the
after
gate.
this week.
I was going to wear mine inside out as a sign of solidarity, but
We should have all done that.
I know.
I'm so glad it's become a thing. I really appreciate that. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. All of you out here, and you here for the Game of Thrones Season 7 finale, Wick Live Extravaganza. We thought we'd celebrate the long journey with a little bit of booze, wine, courtesy of HBO. We're going to send us
Yes,
this
thank you.
Game of Thrones themed red wine.
Exploded on me when I opened it.
Did it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a little bit. No, I think it was probably something I did. I'm not used to opening bottles
Because
of
we
wine this
deserve
early in
it.
the
You know
morning.
what? We got through this season. We're here every week. We had the ups and downs with the characters, the battle scenes, all the action. We deserve a little break.
Oh, thank you.
And if you're watching at home and it's also 10 a.m., feel free to drink with us. All right.
Why,
guys.
thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
We made it through
Valor Morghulis.
the whole
Valor
season.
Morghulis.
It's close enough.
Goes great with my banana bread and coffee.
All right. Just, guys, so was the longest episode of Game of Thrones ever. Kayla, what were your reactions after seeing it? Was this a worthy end to the season?
First of all, I'd like to say that I totally called the Arya Sansa Littlefinger scenario.
Sure.
I called that weeks ago.
I think a lot of folk did.
Oh, well, I felt like I called it first.
But you did it first, obviously.
No, but that was, I was so happy that happened. They were obviously conspiring behind the scenes, weren't going to let Littlefinger get in the way of their family, their sisterhood.
Right.
And then they took him down, and it was great.
I mean, we could start with that. Why not? Let's start with the drama at Winterfell. Stark family values. So we start with Littlefinger and Sansa, again in a room, again trying to conspire. Oh, they also noticed a Stark banner that just fell off. But wasn't it beautiful while it lasted, folks? And he's trying to convince her again that Arya might be up to something. I mean, Josh, now that we've seen the whole arc of this, of the Sansa, Arya, Littlefinger drama, was this a satisfying end to it, dragging Littlefinger before the court and kind of pulling a Perry Mason, Scooby-Doo kind of switcheroo on him, taking off his mask, whether he's the bad guy all along? Like, were you satisfied by it?
I was, yeah. It was more for me that Sansa was coming into her own,
Sure.
and recognizing that Littlefinger, this guy who's been with her this basically for the last couple of seasons, pulling the strings, leading her along. She outsmarted him, and I think that was really big for her. And just the way that Arya just didn't even care.
That was nice.
She was just
That
like, they didn't even give him a care in the world. There was no like extended death. There was no huge
Last words.
moment where she had any kind of, question about what she was doing. It was just, she basically just walked past and was like, done. And
It was very, very quick. Wasn't really much of a trial. Okay, I had some issues with it. I mean, no, that was not a trial. That was just a sentence and
I
an
think there was
execution.
enough.
Legally, I don't think
Incriminating
that's going to
evidence.
hold up, but yeah.
I mean, was there? Because the evidence, a lot of the evidence was we have a magical boy who can see through time. And is that a valid witness in a trial? I don't. Certainly not today.
Yes, that would not hold up today, but back then it obviously worked.
Okay, here's what I'll ask you guys. Are you annoyed at all that the whole plot kind of depended on us not knowing things?
I think it made it more
Dramatic.
dramatic,
the
and then it
final
wouldn't have
bit.
been a surprise had we known that they were working together behind
true.
the scenes. When were they doing that, by the way?
See, that's my issue. I don't know. I think maybe it was after the first Sansa Littlefinger conversation when he was like, imagine the worst in people and what are their motives. I think she was like, he's leading her to think of Arya, but she's thinking, oh, your worst motives are this, this, this.
Or when
Probably
Arya
thinking
gave
about
gave Sansa the dagger.
I mean, again, do we think that was genuine? That beef? Or do we think that was part of it?
I think it was genuine. I don't
Me
think,
too.
because that would be such a cop-out if we were shown all of these scenes of Arya and Sansa
Right.
going back and forth, arguing about legitimate gripes that they have with one another, and then to have it all be, nope, it was just this thing to get over Littlefinger, that would feel really cheap to me.
Right, I agree with you. So I think my best guess is that most of them were genuine, but that at some point between the first and second scene, they met up, got together with Bran, and talked it out. It was fun to see Littlefinger groveling, and have him come to an end and kind of show some emotion toward the end. Because at the end of the day, he's a scared little boy who was just rejected by Sansa's mom, and it kind of comes back to him, I think.
And when I watched the end after the show, they were saying how the creators were really excited to see his reaction when she calls him out in the court.
Right.
She says Lord Baelish, and they were really pleased with his acting.
Hey, Perry Mason moment.
Yes.
By the way, everybody, you're giving comments. Thank you so much. If you have questions or comments, feel free to sound off and we'll answer them. Christine Alsep, he so deserved it. I mean, he did do a lot of bad things. He killed Lysa Arryn, pushed her through the moon door. He killed Jon Arryn to start the whole show off, basically. He lied about the dagger, which started the War of the Five Kings. He's had his grubby little hands on a lot of stuff. So it was a long time coming. Betrayed Ned Stark. So it's for the best.
Kind of inadvertently killed Joffrey, but that was okay.
Yeah, he had a hand in that too. Did you feel at all sorry for him toward the end, Kayla, when he got a little emotional and blubbering?
I didn't. I was ready to see him go.
Yeah.
It seemed like a moment where he was caught and he didn't know how to get out of it. It was like he's always 3 steps ahead of everybody, and every time he's been in a situation like that before, he's been able to get out of it. And that was a moment where I think he was that was his moment of realization where he was like, I've got nothing here, and he paid for it.
Right. And it was Stark that took him down, and that's that. Julie says, hi there, Daniel. How are you? I'm fine, Julie. How are you? Let's just not drink to the memory of Aidan Gillen as Littlefinger. He's on the show for 7 years.
Cheers to Aidan.
Cheers to Aidan.
And for me, to Littlefinger. Why not? He was an interesting character, and now he's dead. How about that final scene, Josh, between Arya and Sansa? Were you satisfied by their resolution? Kind of, they were both on Winterfell ramparts, talking about family togetherness, how the lone wolf dies, but the pack survive, which is a great Ned Stark quote from the books. Did you get any feels during this scene?
I did. I liked that it was a nice, tight resolution to this whole kind of drama, this sibling rivalry that was going along. And, in this show, we've seen a lot of times that's something that can lead into bad things, that can blow up into huge situations. And this was kind of, they buried the hatchet. They're, sisters. They're putting family first. So I really liked it. I think that tied a nice little bow around it. And we've got enough to worry about in season 8. Other than, Arya and Sansa feuding and this
Battling.
and that. Yeah, it would have felt a little bit too much extended than it needed to be if they hadn't wrapped it up right now.
Fair enough. I was glad that they buried the hatchet too, and then we can move on in season 8. And Kayla Knierim called it first. You go into my shirt, so I'll go after your.
It's fine. You can do that.
All right. So that was a fun part of the episode. By far the biggest, most important stuff happened down in King's Landing. Like the first kind of half hour was dominated by this giant meeting in the Dragon Pit at King's Landing. Josh, I personally really liked all the conversations and the talking and all I thought they captured like the glances between characters really well. Like small things, like Brienne passes Jaime and she just kind of has a look on her face, or like Cersei watching Brienne watch Jaime. Like I thought they did a good job of getting those little moments, because there were so many moments to mine.
Oh yeah.
It was
from this many
surreal seeing
characters.
all of them in one place.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
It was definitely. They don't do this very often.
No.
No, I liked how it was a convergence of all these storylines that we've seen develop over the last 7 years. And to me, I really liked Brienne and the Hound when
Right,
they
me
got
too.
together.
Yes.
Especially now that we know what happened at the Wall, maybe with Tormund. That's maybe setting up some kind of a romance, perhaps. This lost romance between the Hound and Brienne. But that was kind of
really?
cool.
She has so many suitors.
She does.
Jaime, Tormund, the Hound, apparently.
But I really like that little interaction, just because the last time we did see them together, when she told him, she was like, I thought you were dead. And he was like, oh, well.
That was my favorite little combo.
Me too, yeah. Like they didn't hold a grudge, either of them.
No.
Because, I mean, even back when they fought, I mean, it wasn't because they hated each other exactly. It was
They were
because
just
they
protecting Arya.
they thought they had different interests. By the way, Melanie Thomas asked anyone else trying to see if Dan Shirters were on the right way this week, and it is on the correct way.
It is, yeah.
I made extra super sure this morning. I enjoyed the Hound and Brienne talking to, again, two characters we like, who are, the Hound especially, are have a dark sided to them, and we're seeing they have some common ground. And they both wanted to protect Arya. I really want the Hound and Arya to get back together.
I do too,
Yeah.
and he was like happy to hear that she's alive.
He
and
was,
in Winterfell.
which I and even though she left him for dead, like he still liked her that much, which I
Yeah.
enjoyed. Any of the other questions stood out for you? We had a bunch of little combos. We had Jamie Braun talking about maybe Cox are behind it all, is the line that I remember from that, which I think might be
Perfect line for those two to be talking.
but also just is, I think it's thematic too. Just is this whole thing just the entire war, everything just an example of dudes trying to one up each other and fight? Things to think about.
I liked Tyrion and Bronn's little
They were
talk.
fun, yeah.
Cashing
Tyrion,
up.
Bronn, and Podrick.
Yeah.
Because those three worked really well together back in the day. And they seem to fall right back into old rhythms.
Good seeing everyone back together again.
It is. What else do we got? Because we had so many. How about the Hound of Brienne, Tyrion, Bronn, Pod? How about the moment where the Hound just walks up to the Mountain, who is now a zombie, and gets in his face and basically says, "I'm coming for you, bro." Was this moment needed, Josh?
I don't know. Is that our Clegane Bowl? Was that what we got? I know everybody, that was teased all week long, and everybody was like, this is it. We're finally going to get the Hound in the Mountain, Clegane Bowl 2017. If that was it, I don't know. I think it was interesting, because the question to me is, like, does the Mountain even know that the Hound is his brother anymore? Because, I mean, he's undead. He's a zombie guy.
It's confusing. We're not really sure where he stands. Chris Barson says, who needs Mayweather versus McGregor when you have Clegane Bowl?
Well, we need Mayweather McGregor because we
Right.
didn't get Clegane Bowl. So
It's true. It was a good substitute. It wasn't as good, but
yeah.
I enjoyed it because I feel like the Hound has kind of kept that rage under the surface for a long time, and now maybe he's gained confidence over the past 7 years to express it openly. It didn't happen, but I don't know. I've never been a big Clegane Bowl truther.
No.
I don't need to see it immediately.
No.
Or at all if I have to. It is kind of funny that, you know, the guy who plays the Mountain is this giant bodybuilder dude. He's not really an actor.
It's good because he doesn't really act.
Doesn't. Not that he couldn't, I'm sure he could. But, you know, he's just a pair of red eyes behind a giant mask. And so that Rory McCann who plays the Hound just kind of shoulders the entire scene. But he does it well, so I couldn't complain. Are you invested at all, Kayla, in the Hound and the Clegane brothers
Not
tension?
super invested, no.
It is something that, like, the fans like a lot.
So they just want him to brawl it out?
Basically. It's kind of a fan theory that's taken on a life of its own and has become bigger than what, because
The Hound almost looked like the same height as the Mountain.
he did. I mean, he is. They're
Someone got
pretty
shot.
close in height.
I would take the Hound over the Mountain.
Oh, of course, anybody would. Because we don't get actually a lot of that on the show of like their rivalry. But I feel like the fans have taken it and made it their like kind of pet theory, which is fun. And they're certainly setting it up for it to happen later down the line. So watch out for that in season 8.
Yeah, I really wish they would have like developed that rivalry between the brothers a little bit more to invest people in like what Clegane Bowl is.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
It's not like they haven't talked about it.
But it's not like, an Arya or a Sansa thing. Granted, they're, higher build characters in the show, but maybe, all the times that we've gone to the Mountain and we've gone to the Hound, could have maybe slid something in there about that to invest us a little bit more.
Right, yeah.
And I also think we got bigger fish to fry in season 8 than Clegane Bowl. It's the same thing like Arya and Sansa. If they would have kept feuding, it would have felt forced. There's other things to worry about other than this whole fight.
There are bigger characters who met in the Dragon Pit who were going to set up things to worry about next season. The main event was when Cersei comes in with her entourage. I liked the tone they set. I liked the time they took with it. Just kind of the watching everybody come in. Again, little glances were fun. How did Dany enter the arena, Kayla? And why did she choose to do that?
By dragon, Avi.
By dragon, right. I mean, if you had one.
I think it just was to make a statement, like, look at me and my dragons. I'm powerful. Bend the knee to me. Yeah, I mean, going up against Cersei, she's got to kind of show what she's got.
A show of strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
maybe my favorite part was when she lands with the dragon and Cersei's like, "You're late."
I know.
We've been waiting on you.
She's trying real hard not to be impressed or intimidated, and it more or less worked.
I don't know if she was. To me, I interpreted that as Cersei being more or less upset that she was upstaged theatrically
That too, yeah.
by Dany, because she came in with her whole entourage, which to me, that's all posturing. She was like, I'm the queen. This is, everybody's gonna bend the knee to me, and then here comes Dany with literally flying in on a dragon, and Cersei's just like, can't believe that.
I mean, she wishes she could do that. They were all posturing. I mean,
Yeah.
Dany had the Unsullied and the Dothraki kind of go ahead of the city. Cersei had Euron's fleet out in force. They were all trying to show each other, just bumping chest before a fight and trying to intimidate. But you can't beat a dragon, though.
Well, unless you're the Night King.
Unless
Or
you're the
a
Night
dead
King.
dragon.
Once negotiations got started, so the whole point of this thing was to show Cersei the white they captured, which went over pretty well. Josh, how did Cersei react? Like, did it have the desired effect once the Hound let it out of its little cage?
I think the shock value was there for her, because that was kind of like when Dany came in and saw all of the whites and the White Walkers, where she was just like, oh wow, this is real, like this is a problem. And I think that was, for a little while there, Cersei was kind of like, oh crap, this is something I might have to worry about. But I think she started really thinking about how she could use that to her own advantage, because that's just the way Cersei works. It's like, here's this huge apocalyptic problem, how can I spin this to my own advantage? So that's how I think the thought process went with her. So I guess it kind of worked on her, but at the same time, maybe gave her a little bit more oomph to go with.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Caleb? I mean, it looked like she was honestly afraid of it.
Yeah, I think she was genuinely afraid. But at the same time, like he says, she's going to have her own agenda. And
Right. It doesn't mean...
use it to however it's going to advantage her. But yes, in that moment, I think she was afraid.
I think anytime somebody brings out like an undead zombie soldier, you'd be shocked. Like if Richard threw one out here on the mat right now, I think we would all be a little taken aback.
This show at the end prematurely. We do something else.
We didn't have that in the CGI budget for our finale episode. But.
I mean, Cersei, I don't think she surprised me. I mean,
But then
she
again, I
convinced
never know.
everybody.
Yeah, I never know with her, like, because she just plays everybody. So I don't know. I thought she was genuinely scared, but maybe she was just acting.
And I think she was, but just because she's genuinely scared doesn't mean that she is going to help.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she can do both, which I
Yeah.
think is a mark of a good, but because you have to throw some truth in there to make it seem real. Later, Jon, so the thing that kind of sets her off a bit is she says, I'll help, but only if Jon Snow, King of the North, pledges not to fight the Lannisters after this whole army of the dead thing is taken care of. And Jon, being the noble guy he is, says he can't make any promises because he is pledged to Daenerys Targaryen. And they get down on him a bit for basically not lying and to not get Cersei on their side. Kayla, was that fair of them? Should Jon have done something else?
That's Jon. He's always going to be honest and upfront, and I wouldn't expect anything different now. So I think he was right in being honest. Honesty is the best policy.
It is the best policy. Josh, how about you? You think Tyrion and Daenerys were right to get down on Jon a bit for just telling the truth?
I think so, because that plays into the politics angle of everything, where you might have to hold off of some truths for a little bit to get what you want, to get to the bigger picture, which is this uniting against the White Walkers. Maybe he should have lied, but
I mean, I was wondering why Tyrion didn't know. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't they?
yeah, I was
told
wondering
people?
that too. It seems like Tyrion's kind of, because we saw later in the episode too, there was a scene with Tyrion kind of on the outside, literally on the outside of the door, when Jon and Dany are,
That was
doing what they were
weird.
doing. But like
That was
there
weird.
was two instances to me where it seemed like Tyrion is getting pushed to the side a little bit of this brain trust.
I mean, we know that Daenerys is trusting him less nowadays since his, plan cost them the Reach and Dorne.
Yeah. That's like a huge revelation to just kind of not tell your right-hand man about, essentially.
Right. Like,
so.
oh, by the way, just like you could have mentioned it.
Yeah,
But I
the
mean-
thing that I've been trying to get Jon to do, he did it, whatever. But now, on to the next thing, it's like, to me, that there's something going on with Dany and Tyrion, and I'm interested to see where that goes as far as the decision making in this brain trust. Because now that everybody's coming together, I don't know necessarily, because Jon and Dany are clearly the power couple at the top of that group right now. And where does that place Tyrion? Especially since we've seen him a couple of times this season be sympathetic towards Jaime and towards the Lannisters. Now that Jaime's, not really a part of that anymore. But to me, I wonder maybe if Tyrion's a man without a home, where does he go?
Let's skip ahead just a bit, because we're talking about it. What did you guys make of Tyrion's little worried face outside Jon and Dany when Jon and Dany were making love?
I think that was a moment where we were all Tyrion in that moment.
Yeah, well, yes.
We were all sitting on the stairs kind of like, oh no.
I mean, he doesn't know, though.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Nobody knows,
Yeah.
except for Bran and
That they're
Sam,
related,
that they're
yeah.
actually related, so he can't be that.
Well, made me wonder, does he kind of like Dany?
Do you think so?
I don't know. Why else? I don't know what the reason would be to. That was just weird.
I think it maybe goes back to a conversation that he had with Dany. I forget, was it maybe the Spoils of War or the last episode, where he was talking about Dario and all of these people. He's essentially like, James Bond, all of these Bond girls that he has, they end up dead for some reason. He's like, you're kind of the same way. Everything you kind of love or get close to, whether it's, anybody, they seem to somehow end up dead or something happens to them.
Is that for Dany or Jon?
For Dany.
Okay.
So everybody that she gets close to, and now he's seeing that Dany is getting close to Jon at this very critical moment.
Interesting.
So maybe he's concerned that that's going to throw something off here.
I mean, now that I think about it, I wonder if he was a little worried that maybe Jon will supplant him in Dany's kind of number 2 spot, because she didn't tell him about the bend the knee thing, and she has been a little mad at him of late. Maybe he thinks that he's getting pushed aside. I can't. Maybe he's into her. I don't know. Like, we've got little hints. He definitely likes her. He believes in her. He approves of her.
Respects her, yeah.
Yeah, respects her. Maybe that could turn to something else. I'm not sure.
If it was revealed that Tyrion had the hots for Dany, I think that would be a little bit too much for me. That's forced. That's like, where is that storyline coming out of nowhere for? Like, I get like maybe Tyrion, who was like, he was into the prostitutes earlier in the series, and it's like, oh, poor, the imp can't find love. Now he finally finds love. But that would feel like so out of nowhere. And we've got enough going on to have to worry about that.
So right now I'm going to say it's him worried that Jon is supplanting him in Dany's number 2 position. But I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought of it, because I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Christine Alsop, he's worried 2 young leaders. Follow up on that, Christine. Oh dear, Laura, hopefully Jon gets Dany pregnant.
Well, so that's the question. So once he
Tyrion
does,
is isolated again, says Anne Whitworth. He must feel torn. Maybe that's it.
They
okay, one more, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Julie Davies, saying, I think he is worried it will distract from the problems. Maybe it'll distract Daenerys from what she has to do. That kind of thing. I can
like
buy that.
Yeah.
It's this year's big ambiguous look. The one where Jaime kind of looked at Cersei last year after she blew up the city.
Yeah.
It's this version of that. Or Littlefinger and Sansa looking at each other across the Winterfell Hall. Gotta have an ambiguous look. Okay, so what you're saying?
well, they definitely set it up for Dany to get pregnant, yes?
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't, like in the past 2 episodes, they've mentioned like 4 times that
She
Daenerys
can't get pregnant.
can't
So
have children.
obviously that means she's going to get
And
pregnant.
yeah, if you've ever watched a TV show movie before, you know that means that there's definitely going to be a baby in the future.
So she'll get pregnant, and then they'll realize that Jon's actually the one that has the rightful heir to the throne, and that's
And her nephew.
Her nephew.
And that they're related. Let's not skirt over that.
All right.
This is
Isn't that kind of the
Setting up
Targaryens
a
thing,
big
though?
problem.
Is like the Targaryens are known for inbreeding, kind of a little
It's
bit.
a thing they did back in the day. I mean, even Daenerys' gross brother, Viserys, was sort of obviously thinking about it.
Yeah.
But Daenerys has avoided it. And through no fault of her own, really, she stumbled into it a bit. Let's talk about it since we're on the topic. So at the end of the episode, Sam comes back to Winterfell, goes to talk to Bran, and they've met before. You remember, Sam helped him get north of the Wall back in season 3. And they have a little chat. I did enjoy the moment where Bran's like, Daenerys come with Jon Snow, and Sam's like, oh, you can see that with your visions? And he's like, no, I have a little scroll here, you idiot.
oh yeah, that was funny.
Okay, my first question here is, so Bran can see everything and knows everything. Why did Sam have to tell him that there's a secret wedding ceremony where Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark were wed.
I wonder if maybe that's hinting at Bran doesn't have full control of his powers so far. Like he's this, kind of a flaw to me has been if Bran is this all-powerful character, why can't, it's to like the last episode, why did Gendry have to run back to send the Raven? Why couldn't, Bran have seen it or something like that? So I think that this was maybe showing us that he's not really in control of his powers as much as we think he might be.
I mean, he said
But then he did go back and see it.
He did. It's, I mean, they're undefined. That's the issue with magic stuff. It can be as clear or unclear as you want. He did say back when he first came that he doesn't have complete control. He can't see everything. He's learned to see better. But I don't know. It was a little funny that just like he literally said, "I have memory of everything. I can see what's happening. Why are you here, Sam?" It's like, wouldn't you know? You can do that. But he didn't know, so he goes back and he discovers that Jon Snow's parents, Rhaegar Targaryen, Daenerys' older brother, and Lyanna Stark, Ned Stark's sister, not only hooked up, but they were actually married, which means Jon Snow is not only a trueborn Targaryen, but actually ahead of the line to inherit the throne in front of Daenerys.
So not a bastard.
Not a bastard. Not just not a bastard, the technically correct heir to the Targaryen dynasty, which is Daenerys' whole thing. And we get this information as we see them having sex.
Too much.
A sex scene.
Too much.
Kayla, okay, was it too much and why?
Yeah, well, I've been against this from the beginning.
You have. Let it be on the record because I've always been against it.
But it was just like in your face, they're related and they're hooking up. Jon Snow's butt, though, made it okay.
Yeah, right? It was a solid butt. I'm not going to complain about that.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
But I mean, if we had to see it, fine.
I'll be honest, I kind of loved that they gave us this information at this particular moment. So that we had, even if we wanted to, we had no option to enjoy this or just enjoy it purely from spectacle.
Didn't look like they were enjoying it either.
I don't know. They thought they were having a good time.
I don't know. I didn't really break down that scene so much. Kayla's clearly the expert on this. I didn't write that article, but it was a little weird to me though.
The butt caught my eye. That's all.
Well, caught all of our eye. It was. let's be real about this.
It was there, okay? Not look at it.
To me, it was a little interesting that they had that voiceover going over it because it felt like this whole season they've been rushing storylines and they've been rushing things, and I feel like they really needed those 2 episodes that they lopped off the end of this season because they're like, we're going to go with a shortened season instead of a full-length season. So like to have Bran basically telling us all this stuff over them, having sex, it felt weird to me. Like it worked, it got the point across, but I don't know, it just felt a little off to me.
I thought it was one of the better moments of the episode. I thought it was a really fun move.
Because it was really kind of rom-com-y to me in a way where it's like right after the wedding it cuts to Jon at Dany's door and Bran's voiceover is like, he loved her, and like she opens the door and he's like, she loved him, and I was like, oh boy.
Drawing
Here we go.
parallels.
Buckle up, everyone. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it got the point across though. So now that we've got that theory confirmed and out of the way, which if they hadn't confirmed it, still would have been weird to me just because that theory was out there so much.
Sure.
It would have been in the back of everybody's head, but they just kind of came out with it.
I just enjoyed that it messed with the audience a little bit. That it was give with one hand, take with the other kind of thing. I like that. I like that when it. I mean, I feel like Game of Thrones has done that with. I mean, not in different ways.
Yeah.
Just it's supposed to be a push the envelope kind of surprising show. So I enjoyed that choice to do that. I mean, I don't like incest.
An anti-incest stance is what we take on Winter's Coming Live.
Although when you watch this show, I mean, we were talking about, does this show I don't know if it normalizes incest, but again, I mean, I accept it has more incest than any other show I can remember.
Okay, well then we have to compare 2 incest scenarios here. There was the one that we saw in the finale with Jon and Dany, and then the one that we saw with Jaime and Cersei, where they were banging right after, right in like a funeral parlor, essentially.
Right.
And that was like, I remember that was a big deal. It was like, oh my God, this is gross. Was that the first time we'd ever seen them actually do it? Because it was kind of implied.
No, of course not.
Oh, I guess maybe.
It was the weirdest place we've seen them do it.
I guess it's the weirdest place.
This season in particular actually has been pretty incesty, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But like that seemed like a much more weird moment to me than this, where it was like
Because they know,
okay,
and also
I get
she's it's just creepy all around.
So
Yes.
then Jon Snow is still related to the Starks. He's their cousin?
Yeah, he's their
Okay.
cousin.
Just clarifying.
We'll talk a little bit later about, well, let's do it now, just because we're talking about it. Do you see a scenario, Kayla Kaniram, where Jon Snow and Daenerys could be rivals or actually fight against each other?
I guess we'll find out next season, but that
We
is
will.
certainly what it's setting up to look like. But I can't see them going at each other. I don't know. I don't.
It's hard to picture, but I mean, yeah, if they're giving us this
She's-
information.
Like you said, this has been her whole thing for 7 seasons, so I don't see her just surrendering very easily.
Yeah, I can see
his
her being more upset about it than him.
I don't think that this is going to be a big deal at all, because if we've learned anything about Jon's character, it's that he doesn't care about these things.
He doesn't care about power.
who's going to be at the throne at the end of the day. All he cares about is defeating the Night King, defeating the White Walkers. He's never really cared about being a rightful heir to any kind of throne. I think more or less the fact that he has purpose and that he knows where he comes from, I think that's going to be more important here. And the fact that he's bridging this gap between the Targaryens and the Starks, that to me might be more important than some kind of feud between Dany and Jon. Because honestly, I think if it came up, Jon would just be like, all right, you take it, I don't want it, so go ahead.
Right.
Just everything about his character doesn't seem to suggest that he would care.
I can see that.
But then knowing he is the rightful heir to the throne, maybe that'll change his mind. I don't know.
Well, I'm not so sure about Dany. I mean, I can see Jon not caring. I think Dany would care. Like, 'cause again, she's wanted this for as long as we've known her.
Yeah.
And she cares more about the titles. She cares more about, like, her whole thing is, I'm the rightful heir to the throne, therefore I should get it, and I'm going to conquer Westeros.
I wonder if it would be cool too if we were in a situation where Jon does end up on the throne and he renounces that to then give the power to Dany. I don't know how that would work in the line of succession.
Little abdication.
But yeah, maybe, because then that would be a nice little resolution to all this, and then it's not what we're all expecting, a feud between the two of them, and it all comes to a head when everything is on the line. Maybe that's a neat little way to wrap that up.
I'm all for a feud, but we'll see if that goes. My personal
The
theory
baby is sure going to make it interesting.
is that the White Walker takes they like take care of the White Walkers 3 episodes in, and then the rest of it is Jon versus Dany. I'd love that, but I kind of doubt it'll happen. Let's go back to the big powwow summit meeting conclave thing.
How did we get away from that?
Oh, you know, you talk
Incest.
about Jon and Dany making eyes at each other.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think we talked about Tyrion
We got way off
Yeah.
track.
looking weird outside the boat door.
Yeah.
But we're back on track now.
A cheers to being on track.
Okay. Let's discuss the conversation between Tyrion and Cersei. Brother and sister meeting up again. He goes back there to try to sway her off her refusal to help. Josh, what'd you make of this scene? They go in there. Was their conversation interesting to you?
It was, but I don't think it had any effect on Cersei.
I mean, it wouldn't, because we know later that she was faking the whole thing.
Well, yeah, that, and just in that moment too, before knowing that information, it's just, the whole series, she hasn't liked Tyrion, she hasn't trusted Tyrion, so why in this moment would she all of a sudden be like, oh my god, the zombie has changed my world? No, she's out for what she wants, and she knows what she wants, and Tyrion doesn't factor into that at all. It was admirable by Tyrion, I think, because it goes back to this theme that we've seen develop over the latter half of this season, of Tyrion trying to stitch his family back together.
Right.
And kind of really bring Jaime and Cersei and him, the only remaining Lannisters, back together to kind of form this family, because that's what they are. They're blood, they're family. So I think more or less that's what I took away from it, is Tyrion is trying very hard to bring his family back to where they were. I don't think it'll happen, but it's interesting to me that he has that drive.
It is interesting. I mean, I think he probably fears that Daenerys will just burn them all. He's been trying to temper that instinct for a while. I mean, I'm guessing that after he figured out she was pregnant, because what we know about Cersei is she's awful, but she does love her kids genuinely. And I liked their conversation. I like when she pointed out that you might not have killed Joffrey, but you did kill Marcella and Tommen in a way, because you killed Tywin, and that left the whole family vulnerable.
Yeah.
To,
I liked that he was very open and sincere and apologetic, and I think
Right.
that came across to her, even though she never really lets on what she's feeling.
I also like that they shared some wine.
Yes, he ordered
They're
lots
the
of
two
wine.
biggest drunks on the show.
They are.
It's
And
true.
she didn't drink it because she's pregnant.
Oh my God, she didn't drink it. You're right. Oh, that's how he knew.
So I thought she was faking it, and then when she didn't drink the wine, I was like,
But
maybe she
is that part of her act? I don't know. How
I still
committed
think
to
it's
the bit?
Euron's. I don't think it's Jamie's baby.
Oh, that's interesting.
Since they've been conspiring behind the scenes, apparently.
They have. Lots of late night sessions.
I honestly, for a second, thought that maybe the mountain was going to kill him when she gave him the look.
Right.
But I'm glad that didn't happen.
And she didn't. And she didn't give the order.
No matter how much she hates him, she still doesn't kill him even when she has the chance.
I mean, part of that, though, is because she wanted to convince everybody else that she really was going to go along with this. Cersei, I mean, I feel like they'll keep expecting Cersei to fail, but
She hit a new level of dark this week, I think.
she keeps outsmarting them, though. Like, she
Yeah.
keeps... I think perhaps it's an advantage that folk underestimate her a bit, and they assume she's stupider than she is. But, I mean, she pulled one over on people, this week at any rate. She convinced them successfully that she would help them. And she even, like... She threw in a bit of petulance, like, I'm going to help you, even though you didn't give me any promises, which is like that little extra spice you need to sell it, right? Because if you just do it up front, they're going to wonder, why are you being so nice about this?
Yeah.
But if you're petty about it, they're like, okay, she's doing it begrudgingly. We can work with this. I still enjoy Cersei quite a bit. Later, though, we find out in the conversation with Jaime, what is the new level of darkness you were talking about, Kayla?
Poor Jamie. Well, basically, she's been conspiring with Euron, and the plan all along was for him to, like, peace out, we're not going to fight these guys, we're going to sail off. And really, he's going to the Iron Bank, is that right?
He's going, oh, should get the map up. He's going across the Narrow Sea to Essos, where Daenerys was most of the great majority of the show, to pick up the Golden Company, which is a mercenary company, just 20,000 soldiers who they'll pay with the line of credit they open with the Iron Bank after they paid them off with the gold they stole from Highgarden. I'll make you a flow chart.
Thank you. Send that to me later. But basically, yeah, and Jamie's like, no, I'm not on board with this, and...
Because they promised they were going north, and Jaime does have some honor in him.
He does. I like Jamie. And they separate for like the first time.
Separation, yeah.
Separation. I thought she was going to kill him too for a second.
That's two times this time. She might kill a brother and she doesn't.
But I feel like it's the first time Jamie's kind of seen her for who she really is, and she's betrayed him.
I think so too. Josh, did you think Cersei had a point when, I think, because the justification she gave for plotting with Euron was, well, you talked Tyrion behind my back, so I'm going to go talk with this J. Crew pirate kind of guy.
J. Crew pirate, that's great. To me, Jaime's always been a sympathetic character. He's grown into a sympathetic character.
Sure.
He hasn't always.
Oh
been,
yeah,
but
I used to hate him, and
he's
now
grown
he's one of my
into
favorites.
he's grown into a sympathetic character, and it was kind of, empowering to me to see him walk away from Cersei, which is something he hasn't really done. He's kind of flirted with it, but he's always come back. And I go back to the scene after Cersei was with Ilaria in the dungeon, and then she comes up and Jaime's like, "You're crazy," and he's like, "But we're gonna have sex anyways." And then now he's like, "You're crazy," and I'm walking out, and I honestly don't care if you kill me. He didn't. I don't think he believed that he would be killed if he left. But that was strong to me that he was like, "Look, do it. If you're gonna do it, just do it. But I'm gone."
I wonder if what Brienne said to him was in his head when she said F loyalty, which is unusual for her because this White Walker threat is so huge. So he's like, I'm loyal to Cersei, but you know what? F, we don't swear on the show. That bad. We don't do that one. F loyalty, and walks out. It's been a long time coming, though, in other ways, I think. Speaking of Euron, so he had a couple of nice moments. It was fun watching this episode again to recap it, and you watch the meeting scene, and then you see Euron kind of being a jerk, like just
Weird.
Starting the meeting by saying to Theon, submit to me or I kill your sister. And at first I was just like, oh, he's just being a jerk. And then now I look back and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if they plotted this. Like, Euron, be a jerk early so I have an excuse to kick you out later. So you can leave in a huff.
Yeah, no, I like how Euron is factoring into all of this, is basically a replacement for Jamie. So Cersei is seeing the situation and she's like, maybe she sees a weakness in Jamie, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's just, being petty about his meetings with Tyrion and she wants to get back because, that totally would be out of character for Cersei. So I think that Euron playing a factor into this is interesting to me, and I like that that's interesting that you say that they set that up, because I missed that the first time, and now that you say it, I'm like, oh, that does make perfect sense. So
well, yeah, because they couldn't have known exactly what the light was going to be like, but the meeting literally starts with Euron like talking to Theon, like talking out of turn and being a huge jerk and saying, "Bow to me or I'll kill," and then Cersei has to say like, "You sit down or you leave." She literally says, "Stop or leave." So I feel like they work that out. Like, I'm going to tell you to leave early on. You keep being a jerk, and then eventually you leave.
Or is that just more posturing for Cersei to be like, I'm the most powerful one here. Whatever I say goes.
I mean, again, it can serve multiple things.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So he's been good. Kayla, have you liked what Euron's brought to the season?
Yeah, another level of craziness. I think him and Cersei definitely work well together because they're both sociopaths, psychotic people.
I wonder if they'll ever turn on each other. I mean, sociopaths traditionally don't work well together for long.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Well, that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds in season 8.
I've long thought that Euron, well, as long as he's been a part of the show, thought that he's this mercenary wild card that maybe Cersei is investing too much in, and that could be, the broken straw that brings everything down.
I can see him outplaying her.
Because he seems to be in it for him.
Right.
So, J. Crew pirate, watch out for him. You can't trust a J. Crew pirate.
You can. Hot Topic pirate would be more accurate, but it's still worse.
Hot Topic pirate.
A pirate. Let's see if any here. All right. What is next on the agenda? Okay. Oh, so I'll talk about Euron. Theon had some nice moments this episode. I think it might have been my favorite stuff, actually. Kind of unexpected because Theon's a character where he's important, but they seem to be okay with kind of going without him for a while. But then he does have a long history on the show.
Yeah.
So when they bring him back, there's enough there to actually have like a meaty scene. So Kayla, what happened between him and Jon Snow in the Dragonstone throne room?
They kind of had a heart-to-heart. They've been childhood buddies. It was good for the heart. Talked everything out, kind of forgave each other. He was like, you know what, you'll always be a Stark and a Greyjoy. That was sweet. But he was like, you need to go do your thing now. So he's off to go save his sister. But that was a really good talk that they had. I liked it.
It was.
They're basically brothers.
I mean, they are. And again, they have a lot in common. Like, even though we don't think about it. Like, they both grew up at Winterfell, but they weren't really Starks. Like, Jon was a Snow, and now we learn Targaryen. And Theon was technically a Greyjoy as a ward.
So it's like, my father was more of a father to you than your own father.
Yes, he was. That's certainly true for Jon as well, because his own father was long dead.
Yes.
So yeah, they grew up in similar circumstances, and their paths kind of branched. And now they kind of come back together for this talk, where I thought we saw those similarities and kind of dug into them. Josh, what did you think of their heart-to-heart conversation?
I liked the heart-to-heart. It kind of paid off the last meeting that we saw with them, where Jon, Theon came up on the shore, and Jon was just like, grabbed him and kind of gave him the business a little bit for
the business.
Justified, gave him the business. But this was a nice little, addition, epilogue to that, I guess you could say, where he's got Jon's respect, I guess you could say. Jon's basically, I think, had some time to cool down and say, there's bigger things that we need to worry about. I need you. He knows he needs Theon, which is why I thought that he didn't kill him when he first saw him come back ashore. So I think that was, and it kind of empowered Theon too. I think that he needed to hear that
too.
Because throughout this, since Theon that whole thing happened, he really hasn't had anybody there to lift him up and fill him with any kind of confidence, or even make him feel like he has purpose, or like he's wanted, or he's part of a team.
Yara did that a little bit, but
yeah, Yara did, and then he kind of bailed on her. But this is, I think, Theon getting a little bit of gusto. He got a little bit of confidence that he needed, and then we saw it pay off a little bit.
Yeah. Gary LaPatra thinks Theon should join the Unsullied. That's unicism, or eunuch phobia. Let's see. Karen Nordmeyer says his redemption may be in seeing Yara and her recognizing that An attempt was made. Oh, but she doesn't think that they'll live to see the end. So Theon now is going to go try to rescue his sister, like she tried to rescue him, which, let's remember, was unsuccessful back in the day. But they did eventually get back together. So Theon goes into the beach. He has Yara's crew, tries to convince him to come with him. And like the last time he tried to convince a group of Ironborn soldiers to do something, they started to beat the crap out of him. But it went much better this time. I mean, I saw those parallels, right? So I was watching it and I was thinking back to that scene in season 2 where he tried to rally them and then they just knocked him out and turned him over to Ramsay. And how he's changed so much in that time. And now he's not doing it for him, he's doing it for Yara. And that's what really kind of made it better for me. I think it's why he won. That and the fact that he doesn't have a crotch to kick.
I know. I like that payoff.
Funny.
That was a nice little comedic moment where he was like, I don't know if he's gonna win this fight, and then he goes for the crotch kick. And
Yep.
there's one person that's not gonna work on. It's Theon. So we learned that the hard way.
That was a great scene.
That was a good scene. Just not to be too into that one moment. The guy kept trying over and over.
The shock on his face.
Then I liked Theon's face where he's like, nope, I got this. It's not going to work, buddy.
Turn into an advantage. Kayla, where do you see Theon going from here? Do you think he'll survive the series? And are you do you believe in his journey to rescue Yara? Is it resonating with you?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think that he'll go out a hero. I think that's why they brought him back. I think he needs to have his moment of redemption. And I think it'll be in saving his sister.
Do you think he'll go out? Do you think he's not long for the world?
I'd like to see him stick around, but I don't know. I feel like he's one that is on the chopping block.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle there, which is kind of exciting, frankly, because there are some characters who think they're not going to kill them, and there's some characters who think well, obviously they're going to die. I like that Theon is I could see him going either way, which is nice, because he's important, but he's not super important. But he is.
And he's almost died
important.
5 different times, so.
He's been through a lot. And also, that actor is just really, really freaking good.
Oh, yeah.
Alfie Allen.
But now Theon kind of has a purpose now. He's got,
which I like.
He has a journey that he's trying to go on. So to your point, yeah, I agree with you that up until now, it's kind of been Theon's been on the fence as far as he could die or he couldn't die. We'd be upset if he did, but we could understand if they decided to kill him off. Now, if they were to kill him off, his boat sinks and he drowns or something like that, it would kind of feel a little sold short to me since he's got somewhere to go. Maybe if this doesn't end well for him, maybe he does sacrifice himself to save Yara and he goes out in this heroic thing and he redeems himself. But I think that I'm invested in Theon now more than I was before.
Me too.
And I think it's because he has that vision and that direction that he's going somewhere.
Right.
I want to see him see it through.
I want to too. I'm very on board with the boat. It's Theon's journey. Corinne says that guy he was fighting seems so out of shape. Which he was kind of heaving a little bit. He was an older guy. And Rick Beaver thinks he will die valiantly after he saves Yara. And again, we're just Kayla's on your boat.
I wonder if Theon's journey here leads to him killing Euron.
Quite possibly.
Oh.
That's where I kind of see this going.
Right?
Yeah, because we're kind of sectioning off all of these political stories in the grander scheme of the White Walker thing. So we've got Jon and Dany over here, we've got Cersei and Jaime over there, we've got Yara, Theon, and Euron and their whole thing here. So I think that maybe this ends with Theon, maybe not necessarily surviving in his killing of Euron, but maybe that's where that goes. And then that takes a huge piece off the board for Cersei.
Yes.
Going back, backtracking. Where was Jaime going? Is he going north?
Oh, we're not sure.
Winterfell?
Right, good point.
We don't know.
I mean, we saw.
Who is he going to team up with?
I mean, he did say, "I pledged to go north. I'm going to go north." So north makes the most sense. Because, like I said, I'm going to fight the Walkers. I'm going to fight the White Walkers. Fight the army of the dead. And I like the moment when snow falls on King's Landing. That's a nice moment. It's been a long time coming too. Winter has indeed arrived. It's here.
Did Brienne go back north?
That's what I was going to ask.
She would have had to.
Because if Brienne went north, I think Jaime went north.
Yes.
I think he's following
I'd like to see them
Brienne.
regroup in Winterfell.
I'm sure. It seems to be where they're going. I mean, Brienne is serving Sansa, so I don't know where else she would possibly go. That's what I think. Do you have any other opinions? Do you think it might go somewhere else?
No, that's probably it.
Off to the north for Jaime. Finally, Juliana says Dan drinks and knows things. That's right.
Glowing endorsement.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Speaking of the bigger picture, our final scene of the night was at the wall, another long time coming sort of thing, where Tormund and Beric Dondarrion are hanging out at the wall at Eastwatch by the Sea.
Any chance Tormund survived that?
Let's talk about that. We'll just, so really quick, so the Ice Dragon, not the Ice Dragon, White Viserion comes. We don't have him here because he's dead. I should have brought him. Imagine this is Viserion, and imagine this is the wall. And he's going on there, burns the thing with his ice blue, horrid fire. It comes tumbling down. Huge moment, obviously. Let's start with that. Kayla, Tormund and Beric Dondarrion are both at the top of the wall. Do you think they could have survived that?
If anyone can survive it, I think it's Tormund. So I'm crossing my fingers that he'll just miraculously come out of the rubble in season 8.
I mean, he has climbed the wall several times, but he climbed it when it was like a structure.
He's a rough and tough guy.
Not a pile of rubble.
If anyone can handle it, it can be him.
I think he's super dead.
We didn't see a body.
Exactly.
We didn't.
We didn't see him die, which leaves me hope.
Wouldn't you feel a little cheated if he turned up alive somehow? Just like, I jumped clear at the last second. Like, we saw the whole thing come down.
I'm half and half on this.
Watch
really.
him like dig himself out. Season 8.
I'm half and half on this because I think that if Tormund, I believe, is a character that maybe deserves some kind of on-screen death, so we can maybe see him go. That's why I thought last week when he was getting dragged into the ice, I was like, oh, this is it. That's his time to go. But I also do kind of like the symbolism of Tormund, this character that we're really invested in, just being part of the rubble as this grander thing starts to march south, this bigger problem that essentially is just turning people into nothing, turning people into mindless, all of their stories doesn't matter, the politics doesn't matter. This is what matters. So I think I kind of like the symbolism of Tormund just being tossed to the side like that.
It's like
chills that it will be a nice way to kind of pound home what a threat these folk are. You're saying, Kayla?
No, it's just the same. I still am hoping somehow that Marjorie's still alive somewhere.
Wouldn't that be nice? I miss her.
Just like I hope that Tormund's still alive somewhere under the rubble.
You know what? How about this? They're probably together somewhere, having a grand old time in Essos, just like drinking, laughing, having kids.
They are together in Westeros heaven.
But
together.
yeah, what about he needed to hook up with Brienne?
I don't know if she'd have him. It was always a one-sided relationship.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he might be gone. But the bigger thing is, the wall came down, you guys. Kayla, as a giant fan of fantasy
All the
stuff,
sci-fi.
well, I was curious. So did this work at all for you? Were you just completely stone-faced, like, oh good, a ice zombie king on a dragon?
I mean, it was quite a scene. I mean, you have to appreciate it for what it is. Like I said, it's not my favorite aspect of the show, but I thought it was well done. The wall is down. We knew this was going to happen in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if we want to get to this yet, but I do have a big question.
Do you think it's thematically on point? If you do,
Yes.
go ahead.
Is Bran the Night King?
Is Bran the Night King? I don't know personally. Like, what makes you ask that?
I don't know, because he was like having a vision during the whole time this was happening. He was like eyes back, and their profile's the same.
Oh, their profile's the same. Interesting. I mean, he was sending ravens. That's a cool theory. He was sending ravens to check it out.
Isn't the Night King a Stark?
I don't think we know who the Night King is.
Oh, we don't?
You know,
Kayla's
he's
just
a
making all
dude.
kinds of predictions right now.
You've been reading like little fan theories, haven't you?
No, I just watched with a group of people last night that put these ideas in my head.
Gotcha. I mean, there's a thing from the books where the Night King might have been a Stark, but the Night King from the book isn't the same one as from the show. So it doesn't really have any bearing on it. As for Bran being the Night King, like I feel like that's a thing that's been out there, and I don't really understand it.
I don't think it's true, but I don't know. That's what people were saying.
I don't think so. I don't see like where the connection is. Josh, your opinion?
I don't know why he would do that.
I don't know. I don't think he's the Night King. I can understand why that theory is out there. I was talking with some people before the show, and somebody had a theory that because like Bran went back in time or bent the space-time continuum or whatever with Hodor and hold the door, so maybe that was something with the Mad King saying, burn them with fire, and that's why he was saying
Right.
that, because Bran.
A lot of fun theories with Bran.
Yeah, so maybe that's, to Kayla's point, maybe there's some kind of weird like space-time continuum, Back to the Future thing going on where with Bran, as if that's a future Bran and he's speaking to him.
You would love
Remember the episode where you tried to explain that to me and I had no idea what you were talking about?
the
Time travel or,
hold the door,
yeah.
and that was done pretty well.
I do love that Kayla doesn't like the sci-fi fantasy element, and then she comes up with like the most outrageous theory between the three of us, and it actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. So say what you will, but
My final question about the episode for you, is there a big fat irony in that the Night King and his army of the dead have crossed the wall only because Jon was so worried he would cross the wall that he went up to get a white and therefore inadvertently gave him the way to actually cross the wall?
yeah, I think that makes sense. That's kind of Shakespearean, I guess, in a way, where Jon is trying so hard to stop this thing from happening that he actually himself incites it to happen. So I think that works for me.
I wonder if anyone would point that out.
Oh, there were others. All my friends were also saying that the Whites needed the dragon in order to take down the wall, and so that's how they got it, is through Bran somehow kind of orchestrating.
Your friends
that.
are into this. I can tell that your friends are like real going in deep
Right.
on this stuff.
And that's, I don't know, somehow he played a part in making that happen. 'Cause they needed a dragon in order to take down the wall.
Right. I mean, there's a theory that the Night King was waiting for the dragon. That's why he didn't charge the frozen lake thing, because he knew it was coming. But we don't know. We do not know. We're not sure. I do think it's a little, I wonder if Dany and Jon will feel a little bad about this. That they're kind of responsible for all this. And Tyrion too, like, because it was his idea. So good going, you three. If you just like kept to yourselves, wouldn't have happened.
Dan, bigger question. When are we getting season 8?
Bigger answer, we're not sure. They don't know. They're filming October. Lasts about 6 months. About another 6 months to air, usually. So I think the earliest is like October of next year. But they've talked about 2019. Like that's been thrown around.
Whoa.
We don't know exactly when season 8 is coming. Wish we did. We don't. But we do know we'll be waiting for a while.
I mean,
Yeah.
as long as they need to get it done right, I guess. It's
Right.
okay by us.
I like the fall idea, but I wonder how that works with Westworld coming back, because Westworld's supposed to come back in 2018 too, and that was like their Sunday fall show, which means they
Josh Hill, our entertainment expert.
well, they would maybe have to like shuffle that around. So I don't know, or could you imagine a night of television where you've got Game of Thrones and then Westworld right after it?
exhausting.
Just shut it down. HBO owns television now, like that's huge. But yeah, that is interesting to me that because hasn't there been like rumors that production has been delayed a little bit already?
No, I haven't heard those.
Oh.
I mean, I've heard that that they're starting. I mean, I know that they're already beginning. Like they're already on the sets. They're already setting stuff up. Last I heard, it was scheduled to start filming in October. That's what I heard last. I didn't hear about a delay.
Well, let's hope.
I mean, if it did premiere in 2019, it wouldn't. I don't think it would be because they needed the time. I think it would be because of scheduling, like you said. But we just don't know. Hopefully, it'll air. Give me like a month break and then come back with some more.
Do you think that would help or hurt the show if we had to wait until 2019?
I think it hurts a show when I have to wait longer than all these Netflix shows, and
Sure.
waiting more than a year, I fall off. Like, I've dropped off of a few shows that I was watching religiously because they took too long.
But like
and then I forget what happens, and then it's like I don't want to take the time to rewatch. And
Oh yeah, definitely.
obviously
of
it's
course.
Game of Thrones, so people are going to watch. But I do think it creates less interest.
I was gonna say, I mean, like it's Game of Thrones. Like HBO will do it at once, and people will watch it. Like,
Well, they do
it
this
shouldn't
with
be afraid,
movies
but-
too. So like 2015 was the last official Star Wars movie, and then they got one coming out this year. So that's about a 2-year break, and people still care. So I wonder if maybe Game of Thrones is established enough, because I wondered that about Westworld.
Oh, it's established
when it was super super hot in the first season, and then it ended, and everybody's like, "Well, see you in 2 years," and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" So maybe that doesn't hurt it, but That's just a question I was wondering.
We'll have to find out. And we'll be talking about it more. We will keep Wick Live up. Not entirely sure exactly. We haven't really talked about it.
Yeah, what's the future of our show, Dan?
We'll figure out something. We'll be back. Well, first we'll do a recap. We'll do like kind of look back at the season.
Okay.
I think we should do that on Wednesday, our old time.
This Wednesday.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Next Wednesday at
Week
4.
from Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
And then we'll figure out what we're going to do with the rest of it as we go.
Sounds good.
Kayla, this has been an eventful season of Game of Thrones. I'm glad you were. I'm really glad you were here to see it.
It was so fun watching it for the first time with all of you.
It was fun. It was a good time. And Josh, of course, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers to
Again.
season 7.
We're back. We're not going to go away.
In
Cheers
the
to
books.
season 7 and the books.
There we go.
Oh man, this is early in the morning for wine. We'll be back Wednesday at 4. We have some giveaways. Next Wednesday at 4, we have some giveaways I want to do. We have some swag to give away to you. And more talk about Game of Thrones, more talk about Song of Ice and Fire. Talking about season 8, looking back at season 7. Thank you guys for joining us in this journey
Yes,
too.
thank you guys
We've had a lot
for
of
tuning
fun.
in each and every week.
And have a wonderful day. And we'll see you next Wednesday
See you next
for
time.
the off season. Fallon Morgullis.